Hi guys, this is Sandra again. Today we'll be talking about mycofabrication, and that means designing with fungi. So fabricating or growing fungi into objects, basically, different kinds of objects. And I'll show you what some amazing people out there are doing. Slideshow of showing you what people have been making from fungi by growing the mycelium into molds and creating different objects as a result. Our introduction is to just recap what we have already covered about fungi, the superheroes. First, we learned about what fungi are and their function in ecosystems, and what the superpowers are, like feeding plants, for example, with the mycorrhizal fungi, and how the decomposers help ecosystems to flourish, and as well how these decomposers and endophytes be used in creating a better future for the world, like cleaning up pesticides and pollution of other sorts, just how important it is to work with these fungi for a brighter future. Today we'll be talking about mycofabrication, and this means designing with fungi, showing you what people have been making from fungi by growing the mycelium into molds and creating different objects as a result. The first object is by Jonas Edvard, and he designed lamps. So he designs them, and you can see on the lamp there's little mushrooms starting to grow. It looks like oyster mushrooms, actually. So you can make lamps by padding mycelium with, say, paper or other substrate that it likes to eat, and depending on that you'll get a specific texture. Here you've got a lamp, which is really cool, with little mushrooms growing all over the place. You can also make shapes to make foam, so for example for packaging or containers for plants. In this case, you can see that this is a little container made for a succulent to grow in. IKEA in the US is actually working with a company that designs these micro objects, and they started using that instead of styrofoam. So you can use fungi to replace styrofoam. And as you may know, styrofoam is very, very non-degradable. You can't just get rid of it. It actually stays for hundreds of years. It's like a plastic type, and it stays in the environment, and we can't clean it up. So when you can make packaging to replace styrofoam and other such packaging, we are going ahead. We are moving forward. You just get rid of the packaging in your garden. It will just decompose because it's just made out of fungi. Insects will eat it up once it gets wet. Other fungi will decompose it, and this is the brilliant way we can use fungi. Terraform is another company in the US, in New York, and they're actually fabricating furniture, outdoor furniture. So you can go into a park and sit on one of these mycelial stools or chairs. Another guy called Eric has created the micro chair, and he travels the world with it, and it gets shown all around the world because it's a really beautiful design. It's 3D printed first, and then whatever's inside of the 3D mold, you have a packed substrate with mycelium, and when that grows enough, it becomes hardened. And of course, it produces mushroom fruiting bodies. It's one of my favorite designs. It's really beautiful, the way it's shaped, and it's a wonderful idea. Ecovative is another company in the US. The same guys actually that made the packaging for IKEA. And they really understand that all our furniture these days that's made out of compressed timber is actually needing glues, and these glues can be very toxic. They contain carcinogenic compounds in them, and so they wanted to get rid of these glues, and as a result they started growing mycelium forms because they are like nature's glue. The mycelium is able to basically glue things together. That's what it does in nature. And so by using that, we're actually avoiding a lot of pollutants being thrown into our environment. One of the world's strongest bricks, in fact, it is the world's strongest brick, is a myco brick. And you can find a little video on YouTube where they show you that if you drop a bowling ball on that brick, it won't shatter. But if you throw that same bowling ball on a normal brick, it will shatter. And it also is retardant to fire, so it won't burn, as well as water repellent, so that means it won't, when it floods, your home is not destroyed if you build your home out of micro bricks. So you can see here more designs of micro bricks by Phil Ross. He's an awesome designer. I encourage you to go and have a look at his designs and his website and listen to some of his interesting videos on YouTube. There's also architecture, of course, as a result of that, and this building was put up in New York, and it was designed to show like just how we can start building with mycelium, growing mycelium bricks and other objects and making them into buildings. Also, mycelium is usable to make clothing. This in case is a micro dress here that you're seeing. Very fine, very delicate material that you can create into a really lovely design. It's very natural. Also, people are starting to make shoes. These are baby shoes, women's shoes. Unfortunately, boys, there is no boy or man shoes. There's also a muskin, which is a leather, and it's just such a wonderful product because you can shape it into any kind of leather you want. You don't have to kill the animal. You don't have to wait for the cow to grow. You don't have to use harsh chemicals to preserve the leather, which is very common. Leather tanneries are very, very poisonous and polluting to the environment and to people. And the skin or mushroom leather is actually very durable, and it lasts many years, and it doesn't require any chemical treatment. So it's just a great way of growing our leather very rapidly as well. The Ecovative boys that I've heard talked about before, they're also surfers. So they designed this surfboard or mushroom surfboard or myco board because they thought, well, surfboards are also made out of fiberglass, which is very intensive to produce, and it doesn't break down and ends up in the ocean, and animals swallow bits of it. It just creates a huge pollution problem. So they've designed this amazing board. It's probably unbreakable because mycelium is such a good binder and gluer of things. But if it does end up being lost in the environment, it just gets decomposed. Over time, it will just decompose. But if you look after it and you don't expose it to the elements too much and only like surf on it, obviously it's going to last a very long time. It won't create pollution. At the end of their life, they should be biodegradable, meaning being eaten by something in nature to go back to the soil and create more life as a result. Another invention, which is just so wonderful, is portobello mushroom batteries. Because once again, batteries use a lot of chemicals. We have to make an anode, and that's usually made out of harsh acids to conduct the electricity throughout the battery. But these portobello mushroom batteries are so good because the structure of the mushroom is so porous. It's got tiny little pores, so it allows for movement of liquid and elements through it, and as a result it creates this really natural, inexpensive and non-toxic structure within the battery, and it expands with life. It actually has a longer life as you use the battery. It's a wonderful invention, and I really hope that soon it will be available and we can run our phones and our computers on these batteries. Now, I would like to thank you. This is the end of this presentation, and I'd like to encourage you to mycoform your own designs. We'll do an experiment with that in this unit. I'll show you how it's done, and I just would like to thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great time with fungi. I'd like to also mention that in this heart-shaped mushroom you see in front of you, it spells a certain word, and I'm not going to say what it is, but the actual mushroom graffiti, which is naturally grown there, is spelling some wonderful message towards us. So I would love to encourage you to find out what that is, what you can make out of it. And also, if you wanted to learn more about fungi, you can always email me at sandra@woodfordia.com or go to my Mycomania Facebook page, and the address is there below as well. Thank you so much for listening, and all the best with your myco future.